I got to play this. You're gonna like it.
Is the best arc in all of One Piece. No cap.
Be that as it may, it's still going in the C tier.
Screw you, Obama.
Quit complaining. It's better than it deserves, and you know it.
You just don't appreciate the true genius of the masterfully written Foxy.
You're illiterate.
Your mom's illiterate.
Gentlemen, please, we're all Nakama here.
Foxy for Straw Hat.
Now, I know this is still fresh for all of us, but we have to decide where to rank the Wano arc.
This won't take long. S tier. Easily Oda's best work to date. An epic adventure that sits at the very pinnacle of the series.
Jesus Christ, I can't believe this crap.
How could you possibly disagree?
I agree that it sits at the pinnacle of mid. Wano Kuni is the most overrated arc in the entire history of manga. It took 4 years to punch a fish into the ground. That's longer than my entire presidency.
It was only half the length of mine.
Yeah, Donald, this seems like a you issue.
And Kaido wasn't just a fish. He was a dragon-only kind of
thing. You don't even know what he is. Maybe if Oda didn't rush his flashback, we wouldn't have this problem.
I will agree that Oda could have given more time and development to Kaido, but Wano Kuni had already gone on for so long by then.
I think he got plenty of time.
Did you even read the arc, Sleepy Joe? Falling asleep next to a volume of manga doesn't count as reading.
Like you can read. You were anime only up until last year.
That's because I appreciate voice acting and seeing things in color. Unlike you, I didn't grow up watching things in black and white.
Donald, the problem is the pacing. I agree that the voice actors add a lot to the anime, but every episode is so dragged out.
So it's no different to the manga Wano Kuni then. Worst arc of all time, obvious C tier.
How can it be both the worst and a C tier?
I think C tier is a little low. There was a lot to like about Wano Kuni. Act 1 was superb. The Oden flashback is a crowning moment of the series, and the increased focus on Zoro was much appreciated.
What focus? Oda revealed Zoro's parents and SBS for Christ's sake, and whatever happened to the Grim Reaper, that plot line went nowhere. Worst arc of all time, obvious D tier.
I agree. After building up so much focus on Zoro, Oda really dropped the ball there. But overall, Wano Kuni is still a phenomenal arc, and you know it.
Phenomenal crap.
Donald, what about Gear 5th? Surely you can't deny how amazing that was?
Yeah, Gear 5th was great, but there's a kernel of sweet corn in every big, beautiful dump.
Weird analogy, but okay.
I actually thought Gear 5th was a bit too goofy. I liked it a lot better when Luffy fought seriously.
Are you serious? Gear 5th was the only redeeming part of this entire arc, and you didn't like it?
I just wanted the climax of the arc to be a bit more serious. I mean, we're talking about Luffy finally defeating an emperor of the sea.
Yonko.
What?
It's Yonko.
What the hell is a Yonko?
It means 4 emperors, Yubaka. Learn Japanese.
In the official translation,
in the official translation, it's Zolo, Joe. Effing Zolo, for Christ's sake. How can you read that garbage?
Because it's the most accurate translation to convey the actual story.
Yeah, well, in the story, it's supposed to be Zoro and not Zolo.
Nakama, please. We're supposed to be talking about Wano Kuni.
Worst arc of all time. Obvious E tier.
Rocky's putting it even lower now. He's obviously trolling.
Joe, someone disagreeing with your trash takes doesn't make them a troll. It makes them a perfectly well-balanced human being. I mean, for crap's sake, if people knew about your trash takes in 2020, then I wouldn't have lost the election.
Donald, I'm going to need you to justify your opinion here. I personally wasn't the greatest fan of Wano Kuni, but you need to articulate what you didn't like about it.
It was too short.
What do you mean too short? You just said it was too long.
It was too long until it was too short.
Donald, you're making less sense than the filler arc where Luffy fought a dugong.
That was a perfect dugong.
Joe, I'm actually in Donald's camp here. I do think the ending of Wano Kuni was very rushed. Everything after Gear 5th was paced very strangely, as if Oda was desperate to just move on and forgot to properly end the story.
I think it was paced just fine.
You would, you dick rider. You probably have an annual pass to Oda's house just to ride his dick every day.
You and I both know he's too busy to be giving dick rides, Donald.
Wrong. His dick doesn't draw the manga, Joe.
How do you know that, Donald? Maybe that's how he gets so much done every day.
Nakama, please. We need to get back on track. Now, the most disappointing thing about Wano Kuni to me is that Yamato didn't join the crew.
Yamato was never going to join the crew. You were delusional if you believed that.
Wrong. Oda clearly set Yamato up as a crew member.
Then why isn't Yamato on the crew right now, Joe?
Because Oda is clearly planning something else for Yamato down the line, you idiot.
Dick rider.
Illiterate.
Personally, I was more disappointed in Carrot joining the crew.
Oh my God.
Rock, you can't be serious.
Oda had been building Carrot up since Whole Cake Island. She was the obvious choice and would have made an S-tier lookout.
Only if the S stands for shit character.
I agree with Donald. Carrot had potential, yes, but Oda pushed her into the background during Wano Kuni and made it clearer than Absalom that she wouldn't be joining.
I disagree. I think Oda could have made it work.
Spoken like a true furry.
That means nothing coming from someone who unironically loves Foxy. Your opinion means less to me than Lelouch Kingdom did to Emu.
He's the best villain in the series, and you have yet to make a convincing argument otherwise. Foxy for Straw Hat.
What about the Oden flashback? Surely we can all agree that was amazing.
Oh yeah, peak fiction, one of the best written characters in all of One Piece, and it was wasted on a flashback.
I still vividly recall the moment where they landed on Laugh Tale as one of the greatest in the series.
You know what would have made Wano a decent arc? arc.
Here we go again.
Wano would be decent if the raid failed.
Barack, he's doing it again.
The raid should have failed. It was the only possible way to create a sense of narrative tension at that point.
Donald, the only way the raid would have failed is if it was one of your businesses.
F you too, Joe.
Donald, we've been over this on our weekly One Piece podcast. What purpose would the raid failing serve?
It would add stakes to the narrative. Delicious, juicy, tension-filled narrative stakes.
And taking another 2 years to publish a whole second raid.
I don't mind waiting for peak.
You just complained that Wano Kuni was too long already.
Is your senile mind completely incapable of comprehending the nuances of
This is such
storytelling?
a
It was too
high-tier
long in some
weeb
places
argument.
and too short in other places.
You're just upset that your headcanon didn't come true.
No, I'm upset because Oda fell off.
Nakama, please. We all know that Oda has not fallen off. After all, Egghead Island is a superb arc so far.
Oh yeah, peak fiction, easily one of the best written situations in all of One Piece, except it's painfully easy to figure out who the traitor is.
The alliance between Luffy and Rob Lucci was unexpected but perfect for the moment. And the mystery aspect is a very fresh take on the series.
Good. You see, no one has fallen
As if
off.
we haven't
Oda
had
may
that
have just had a
before.
bit of a stumble during the finale of Wano Kuni.
Worst arc.
You're the worst arc.
Wrong. I accomplished more in my 4 years of presidency than Oda did with his 4 years of Wano.
Are you seriously saying that Wano Kuni was worse than Syrup Village? The arc that turns the most people off the entire series?
I will admit that Usopp's design is not for everyone and that Kuro's plan was stupid. However, Syrup Village was
Kuro's
still
plan
peak
is
Oda before
very
he got
fucking
bogged down
stupid.
in unnecessarily long and convoluted story structures.
Donald, it takes time to tell a good story. We needed that time to properly explore the vassals.
The vassals? Oh, please, Kiku didn't even visit Izo's grave. Oda barely gave them any
True.
development, and their fight against
Fucking
Kaido was a
true.
colossal disappointment.
I really enjoyed Raizo's fight.
Oh, please, that waste of time? All they did was stand there doing nothing for 30 chapters.
It was a reference to the will of Kazuki Oden, you dumbass. He stood there boiling in the pot for his vassals, and Raizo standing in the flames was his own personal trial. You clearly understand nothing about narrative and character depth.
It's a fight that grows on you in retrospect. Although I agree it may seem a bit underwhelming compared to the worst generation versus the Emperors.
Oh, yeah, peak fiction. One of the best fights in all of One Piece, except it's a shame they ruined it by having Luffy fight Kaido one-on-one.
That fight was the culmination of everything we as fans had been waiting for during the past 10 years.
Wait, Sleepy Joe, who's your favorite member of the worst generation? Don't tell me it's Trafalgar Law.
It's obviously Trafalgar Law. He has the coolest design, the most OP devil fruit, and deserves his own spin-off
Ugh.
series after One Piece is over.
I couldn't think of a more mid opinion.
Well, who's your favorite member, Donald?
Pirates going on
Useless Captain
adventure.
Kid.
You mean useless Captain Mid?
You take that back.
Oh, please. Law carried
Pause it,
Kid throughout
pause
the
it.
whole Big Mom
Useless
fight, and you
Captain
know
Mid.
it. I'd say it's the most disappointing.
He
We're
says
at
he's got
end.
the most
We're
OP.
almost at the-
He has the most OP devil fruit, even though it's called the OP no Mi.
Dude, I love that fucking comeback though. You mean useless Captain Mid? Wait, no, hold on. The thing I actually did like about this, the guy who made this is obviously a One Piece fan. He clearly pays attention to the community because most of the things that they're talking about with Wano Kuni, these were the conversations people were actually happening, right?
Oh yeah.
It drags on in certain areas, and then right at the very end, Oda rushed the ending. Right there's a lot of things that he does not pay off, and typically what Oda will do, he'll do a small hint towards something and pay it off later. But the whole thing with the Grim Reaper showing up for Zoro is never once mentioned again. It's never paid off. I don't know if that means it's being saved for the next arc, but it was a little disappointing. Like everybody thought that Zoro faced death or was going to die or something, and it's never brought up again. So, sorry, we're at the very fucking end. I had to talk about that. I had to talk about that because
Shit,
I love.
I'm telling you, Crow, this is why we need to have a stream where we're dedicated this stuff just to the nerd shit.
Oh god, but these
Dude,
are
a
great.
One
I'm
Piece
gonna-
stream would be great.
I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do one more of these. But let's just finish up the ending.
Disappointing thing I'd ever seen from Kid. However, now that he's fighting Shanks, I'm sure he'll top that disappointment in no time.
Kid low diff Shanks.
You're delusional, just like all Kid fans.
I wasn't delusional when I slept with your mother last night.
Yes, you were. My mother's dead, dumbass.
Nakama, please. We still have to finalize the ranking for the
I just love the
Wano Kuni arc.
Nakama,
Now, I don't
please.
think it's perfect by any means, but it's still a fantastic achievement of storytelling within the manga medium. I suggest putting it in B tier for now and seeing how it appreciates with time,
Too low.
Too high.
which means it's just right. Now, next up, we have the Marineford arc.
Worst arc of all time. Obvious.
No, dude, wait, Crow.
Yeah, he's
Crow.
got the,
Worst arc of all time. Obvious F tier.
he's got Ace's hat on when he says that.
I know. Wait. The next one is the.
Oh, I was gonna say, Crow, you should have played the one I was gonna. I sent you.
Oh,
in the
dude,
chat.
I have to play this. I have to play this. This is the funniest fucking one. I guarantee it. This one is the funniest fucking one. I guarantee you. I'll play yours after. I'll play yours after. But you have to listen to this.
The strongest and most physically attractive character in all of One Piece.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on that.
You're just jealous of his thick, girthy neck, Obama.
Donald, can you stop derailing the podcast? I'm supposed to be watching Film Red with Jill at 6 o'clock.
More like Film Brown because it's absolute excrement, complete waste of time. Nobody asked for One Piece the musical, and Shanks was barely in it.
Knock him up, please.
It's true. It's true.
Uncomfortable
Shanks
phallic
is barely in the
similarities.
He
fucking
keeps talking
movie.
about penises, Barack.
Swiftly moving on. Our next email question comes from Hillary's private server 44. Who do you think would win in a fight, Zoro or Sanji?
Zoro.
Sanji.
Are you effing serious, Joe? Oda confirmed that Zoro was the second strongest in the crew by putting him in the chapter 1031 color spread.
Oda didn't confirm anything. He just drew all the vice captains.
Then why did Oda draw Beppo, Joe?
What?
Why did Oda draw Beppo as the vice captain of the
Beppo.
Heart Pirates? You should know as well as I do that
He's the
Beppo,
panda.
Penguin, and Shachi are the joint vice captains of the crew.
Don't you ever dare question my knowledge of the Heart Pirates, Donald.
Answer the question, Joe.
No,
Why
Beppo's
did
the
Oda draw
polar bear.
Beppo?
Well, I guess
Oh,
it's
polar
because
It's because he's clearly the strongest of the three, thus confirming that Zoro is the second strongest member of the Straw Hats by association.
Donald, you and I both know that polar bears are banned as a method of power scaling after last time.
You're just mad that I'm worth more polar bears than you, Joe.
Knock him up, please. We all know that Zoro is the vice captain of the crew. However, that doesn't mean that he is necessarily more powerful than Sanji.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Barack.
Joe, for Christ's sake, don't thank him. He's just taking pity on you for being a Snanji fan.
Snanji. It's Sanji, you illiterate. You don't even remember his
Snanji.
name.
I don't need to remember the names of mid-characters, Joe. It takes up space that I could be using for peak.
Sanji fans don't need pity. Our boy got an entire mega arc dedicated to him during Whole Cake Island. Meanwhile, what was Zoro doing? Sweet F all, that's what.
He was busy preparing for the Wanakuni arc. You know, that thing everyone else was meant to be doing until your shitty cook ruined everything and completely derailed the story for 2 whole
It's
years.
true.
Now,
That
Donald,
is
Whole Cake
true.
Island wasn't
That
so bad.
actually
Sure, it
happened.
lacked the satisfying conclusion of most One Piece arcs, but that in and of itself was a much-needed fresh take on the series.
Oh yeah, peak fiction. All that happens is an obese grandmother screaming about wedding cake for 30 chapters, and you dick rider the Nobel Prize. in literature.
Did you even read the
Pete's grandmother screaming about wedding cake.
Of course, it was a
She
great
screamed
fight. It was the
all
only
the
part of the
fucking
arc
arc.
that didn't have Snanji weighing it down.
Donald, I swear I will smack you harder than Luffy punched St. Charlos at the human auction house.
Just try it, Joe. Then I'll become Marine Admiral Kizaru and kick you harder than he kicked Basil Hawkins on Sabaudi.
Just try it, dumbass. I'll order a Buster Call on Trump Tower.
How are you going to do that, Sleepy Joe? You need to actually be awake to use the Golden Denden Mushi.
Knock him up, please. I think it's a bit
Golden
culturally
Denden.
insensitive to be speaking about Buster Call so lightly, lest we forget what happened to the population of O'Hara in Nico Robbins' flashback. O'Hara
O'Hara
lives.
Mara lives.
I'm sorry, Barack, but I'm not a garbage man, and as a result, I don't have the landfill space for all of Donald's trash takes.
Calm down, Joe. Maybe Donald has a point. I agree that Whole Cake Island was a fantastic vehicle to explore Sanji as a character, but I can see how some people would be disappointed that he didn't get a fight.
Who could he fight? He's a loser.
Sanji could have taken out anyone on that island, and you know it.
Oh, yeah. You're telling me that Sanji could have beaten Charlotte Katakuri? Come on, Joe. You should have enough future sight to know how badly I'm going to beat your ass in that pathetic argument.
Okay, maybe not Katakuri.
And what? You think he could have beaten Big Mom? She's Yonko level, for Christ's sake.
Emperor level.
Oh, my God. Don't start this again, Joe.
The official translation says emperor, so it's emperor level.
The official translation also says you're a dick rider. Are we going to stick to that as well?
It doesn't say that, Donald.
Yes, it does. Right here. Volume 90, page 45. Joe Biden. is a
Volume
dick rider.
90.
It doesn't say that. The official translator, Stephen Paul, would
Oh,
never
Stephen
distort the
Paul.
story
It's
fit your
always
stupid
Stephen
head
Paul
canon.
with you. If you love Stephen Paul so much, why don't you marry him and have a series of poorly but officially translated babies all named Zolo?
Donald, I don't think it's fair to but post one Sanji is a different matter entirely.
Barack's spitting pure facts. Sanji beat Queen during the raid on Onigashima. That clearly makes him commander level.
Yonko Commander 2, maybe, but Zoro beat King. That obviously makes him Yonko Commander 1 level, if not outright Yonko level.
You're full of malarkey, Donald. You and I both know that Zoro is not emperor
Full of
level. He's not even
malarkey.
an emperor.
You don't have to be a Yonko to have Yonko level power, Joe.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, we wouldn't call it emperor level.
I think it varies from emperor to emperor. remembering that Buggy is
Hawkeye
happens to be one of the
Mihawk.
4 emperors.
That's right, Obama. That means that Buggy is officially stronger than Snanji.
Malarkey. Sanji low diffs Buggy and mid diffs Zoro.
Nakama, please. If you two can't get along, then I'm going to go full Shanks on this Paramount War and whip out my Conqueror's hockey.
And that's another thing. Sanji doesn't even have Conqueror's hockey.
He doesn't need it. He has genetic enhancements spliced into his bloodline elements from Vinsmoke Judge.
So what you're saying is that even with the world's greatest scientific hacks, Snanji still can't stand up to Zoro.
That's not what I'm saying, Donald, and you know
You're
it.
saying that before his enhancements awakened, Sanji was somehow even more pathetic than he already is. Yes!
I did not say that.
You're saying you're a Snanji dick rider, Joe. Just admit it.
I've never ridden a dick in my life, Donald. And if I did, it wouldn't be Sanji's because he's a 2D character, you illiterate.
Nakama, please, let's all just calm down and stop getting the video demonetized. Donald, for what it's worth, I do think that Zoro is stronger than Sanji.
Do not betray me, Barack.
However, I think the fight would be a lot closer than you think. It's definitely a high diff matchup.
Oh,
Oh my
please.
gosh,
The only
I
thing
wish
that's high
political
diff is
debates were
Sleepy
like
Joe
this.
struggling to stay awake during this debate.
No, the only thing that's high diff is getting you to go a day without stuffing your face with McDonald's.
A day without McDonald's is a day wasted, Joe.
About as wasted as Zoro would be after fighting Sanji.
I think Joe raises a fair point. Again, if this were pre-time skip Sanji we were talking about, then it would obviously go to Zoro no contest. However, post-time skip Sanji has received significant buffs in speed, power, and durability.
You know what else he received during the time skip?
Don't you dare, Donald.
He also
A
received a very
nosebleed.
pretty dress from the Okama.
We agreed not to talk about the dress.
You know who's never worn a dress? Zoro.
Barack, he won't stop talking about the dress.
Donald, there's nothing wrong with wearing a dress. Even Luffy briefly wore a dress during One Piece film Gold.
Yeah, for comic relief, which is exactly what Sanji is. Dress-wearing comic relief. Even on Egghead Island, his new outfit is a joke.
Sanji doesn't need a cool outfit, Donald. He's a character of substance and isn't defined purely by aesthetics like Zoro.
Oh yeah, peak character. The biggest challenge he has to overcome in every arc is figuring out which pair of boobs to simp over.
Joe, I'm with Donald on this one. Sanji's behavior towards women in the series is a relic of a time gone by. The pervy jokes don't work as well for me in 2023 as they did in the early 2000s.
You know who doesn't need to simp to get women? Zoro. He's such a Giga Chad alpha that they all just come to him. Hiyori, Tashigi, Viola.
Viola was not attracted to Zoro, dumbass.
I wish I
Joe,
was
every
Zoro.
woman is attracted to Zoro.
But she spent most of her time with Sanji.
Yeah, but she was thinking about Zoro.
No, she was thinking about how to save her kingdom from the tyranny of Doflamingo.
Oh, please. She wasn't even thinking about that before the Straw Hats arrived. Did you know that Viola had sex with Doflamingo, Joe?
You're making
It's
that up.
true.
It's in the SBS, Joe. Learn to read.
I hate to say it, but Donald is correct. In the SBS of Volume 83, Oda confirmed that Viola had
One
a,
of them
quote,
screaming
adult
illiterate,
relationship
the
with
other is
Doflamingo,
screaming
adding
that
that
he can't
Dressrosa
read.
is a, quote, truly passionate country.
I don't blame him. If Viola were my daughter, I'd probably date her as well.
Viola was not Doflamingo's daughter, Donald.
She's a nasty woman.
Barack, did he just say he wanted to date his daughter?
I never said that. You're being senile.
I heard what I heard.
Check the recording, Joe. I never said that.
I will check the recording, Donald, and then I'll expose you online for desecrating the integrity of the Dressrosa arc.
Oh, yeah, peak fiction. That's what Dressrosa isn't. 2 whole years for that garbage.
I think we can all agree that Dressrosa was a little tough to read weekly. However, as a condensed experience, it is nothing less than a fantastic arc.
Don't waste your words, Barack. He was anime only when Dressrosa was being published. Watch. He's probably going to complain about the Rebecca flashback.
I actually really enjoyed the Rebecca flashback.
Even though they cut back to it over 40 times in the
Nobody
anime.
likes
Come on,
that.
man. There were more Rebecca flashbacks than presidents of the United States.
Reusing content is a smart business move, Joe, but I wouldn't expect you to understand that.
It was meaningless repetition that did nothing but make me emotionally numb to the plight of Rebecca and Soldier San. I get the need to pad out weekly episodes, but why keep coming back to that one particular flashback?
Because it was a perfect flashback. It was a constant reminder that at the heart of One Piece are the feelings of the people and the friends we meet along the way.
Donald is making a surprising amount of
Fucked
sense
up.
here.
Plus, how can you not be on board with the story of a father and his hot daughter?
Barack, you just did it again.
Don't change the subject. We were talking about Zoro winning the fight against Sanji.
It is not a foregone conclusion, Donald. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji are called the Monster Trio for a reason.
Now, Joe, we all know that the Monster Trio is a fan-made term and not an official title. And in fact, post-Wano, there's an argument to be made that it's the Monster Quartet with the addition of Jinbei.
Oh my God.
Barack, do you hear what you're saying? There is no evidence whatsoever to equate Jinbei to anyone in the Monster Trio.
Come on, Joe.
I
Jinbei is a
think
fisherman
Jinbei
karate
is
master, a
stronger
veteran
than
hockey
Sanji.
user, and he used to be a warlord of the sea.
100%.
Shichibukai,
Stop it with your weeb malarkey.
learn Japanese.
I'm not saying that Jinbei is
Learn
necessarily more
Japanese.
powerful than the Monster Trio. I'm just saying that he should definitely be in the discussion.
Horrible take.
I agree with Donald. This is a rare Barack L, and it reminds me of that time where Sanji and Zoro had to team up in the groggy ring to win the Davy back fight.
Foxy for Straw Hat.
Knock him up, please. We still have yet to come to a satisfactory conclusion regarding the issue of Zoro versus Sanji. For what it's worth, I think that Zoro is both stronger and more driven. However, Sanji is both faster and a demonstrably better tactician. If they were to fight in the series, then I suspect that it would be a coin flip outcome.
I'm not happy about this, Barack.
Take the dub, Joe. It's better than Sanji deserves.
Now, our next question comes from Obama Llama 69. Who do you think would win in a fight, Shanks or Mihawk?
Mihawk.
Shanks.
Are you effing serious, Joe?
Oh,
Okay, we're gonna do one more. We're gonna end the stream.